financial advisor 5, 10 years from now that does not have a digital presence? Will they be around?
So you could sit there all day long and say, I'm Jeremy. I work with tech employees in Silicon Valley. But if you don't have a single review from a third party saying, yeah, I worked with Jeremy and he was great, your chances of being recommended are very, very small. So right now, 10% of the advisors out there are getting all of the recommendations on AI. If you don't have social proof, you will not be recommended. Across the board, a third of all website traffic is down, just gone. People are not clicking over. But the traffic that is coming is converting at 4.4% higher.
It's like the dopamine. You got to have something that keeps them there.
Think of your marketing like a magnet. In order for one side to attract, what does the other side have to do? Repel, right? If it doesn't repel, the magnet is broken. But I'd go pull up Copilot, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT, and say, explicitly lay out who your ideal client is, pretend to be them, and then you say, recommend a few financial advisors, and they'll give you a list. And if you're not on there, the follow-up question should be,
every advisor, if they're actually listening to this episode, they need to do that today.
You should be spending 80% of your time thinking of
systems work. People fail. Welcome to InsureMark's Advisor Mentorship Podcast with Vice President Jeremy Hauser.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Advisor Mentorship Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Hauser. And boy, the last several episodes, we've gone into a deep dive of AI, all things social media, a little bit about some best practices of how advisors are starting to build out their digital footprint. Pretty excited about this guest to bring to each and every one of you. She's actually, many of you are probably connected with her on LinkedIn. She is the chief evangelist of FMG. Ladies and gentlemen, Samantha Russell. How are we doing today?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And we got a lot to go through today. But I do, just based off our quick little brief conversation here, you are recording in Italy. So that is incredible. So it's pretty late there, pretty early here. So you're a traveling person, huh?
I am. I love to travel, love to explore the world. So yes, sorry about the dark. Usually I like good lighting. It's a good tip for recording videos. Look into the light coming through the window, but don't have any. And I did not bring my Ring camera and all my setup here to Italy. So we'll do the best with what we have. But yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. And curtains are always good for audio control. So.
Oh, good. Okay.
So if you don't mind, for those that may not know as much about you, so tell us a little bit about you, your role with FMG, and more so, how you got into your business.
Yeah. So, gosh, it would have been over a decade ago now. My late husband started a business called 20 over 10, and he was a graphic designer, entrepreneur, and started this tech company to create. He actually thought advisors were going to build their own websites the way you use Wix or Squarespace, tools like that. And he had this project he was doing for a large OSJ and said, he built them this beautiful website, and then all the individual advisors underneath them that he was linking the sites to, a lot of them looked the same, sounded the same. And he was like, why is that? And started digging into it, learned a lot about compliance. This would have been like 2011, so a long time ago. And quickly realized that there was an opportunity in the marketplace. So he built this tool called 20 over 10 and asked me, hey, do you want to leave your job? I was working at Penn State University at the time doing fundraising for the school. Do you want to quit your job and come and help me grow this thing? And it was right around the time that the Jerry Sandusky incident had happened. And so it was a really good time for him to ask me to go. And so I left and joined him, and we built 20 over 10 over the course of 5 years. It just kind of took off like a rocket ship, especially right after COVID. And then we got to the point where we knew we either needed to do a capital raise or sell, but he really didn't. He was an entrepreneur. My husband, he did not want to be the CEO and sell and be underneath someone else. So we ended up selling to FMG, which was a perfect partnership. And I came on and joined as what we call the chief evangelist. And it is honestly my favorite job I've ever had, because what I get to do all day is research what are the trends shaping how financial advisors are getting found, how they're growing, what does organic growth look like, but then pair that with, everything that I know about social media and video and AI search and everything else that goes into how advisors grow on that side of things. And then bring that back to FMG, help inform our products and services. And then I do a lot of public speaking on stage, teaching advisors what they should know, whether they use FMG or any tool. So I like to think of myself as a marketing strategist at large, really helping people with the education component of it. So that's where I sit today.
That's awesome. I did not actually know that, to be honest with you, for the 20 over 10. No. So that makes sense. And our team was actually using their websites a lot as well too, especially right around COVID. And then there's so much competition for websites. And everybody's got a lot of good stuff. And no, they were great. They're customizable. No, I remember for the most part. And you mentioned social media and your expertise and how advisors are being found. So we'll definitely dive into deep detail of that. Any preferred platforms that you find that your expertise, you're starting to learn more of the tricks of the trade for advisors? Any social media platforms kind of stand out?
Yeah. So I think, I would say I teach and force myself to learn the most about LinkedIn, just because it's the one that's approved the most for advisors to use. The highest affluent user base in America is on LinkedIn. It also has amazing advanced search features. So if you are trying to generate new leads, let's say, and you want to host events, whether it's webinars or in person, LinkedIn's advanced search feature makes it where you can really do targeted invites without having email addresses, which is amazing. So there's a lot of reasons why I focus a lot on LinkedIn. However, for other firms, there's certain firms where having a really strong YouTube strategy is crucial, or Instagram, if you really want to get more of the ear, especially of the female side of the household. Instagram tends to be very, very heavily used by women in, between 30 and 50 years old, again, more higher affluence. So it really depends on the firm, which platform that I would, recommend and teach them about.
North American has redesigned their award-winning Secure Horizon suite of FIAs to be more resilient in volatile markets. And effective March 10th, they added the S&P 500 Distance Stabilizer Index. This measures volatility over multiple recent time periods, which allows for flexibility to navigate short-term spikes and increase exposure during subsequent market rebounds. It aims to track the pure S&P 500 without a fixed volatility target, bonds, or commodities. It's available on the 1-year, the 2-year, and also their very popular laddering strategy. They have also recently added the straight S&P 500 annual point-to-point cap strategy to this suite of products. Not the commissions are important, but North American is also running a 1% commission on all of the Secure Horizon FIAs effective March 1st. When is the end date of this special, you may be asking? Well, at this point, there is no end date. So take advantage of this opportunity now. For more information on the North American suite of products, feel free to go to www.insuremarkamp.com/J Hauser and click on Learn More. From your experience, do you think, has that shifted though? So like over time, I mean, I know LinkedIn's been around forever, but it seems like more and more advisors are getting on it. Is like the trend going more towards, I know it depends on the advisor we're talking to, but people actually booking appointments. Do you see a shift of where those are coming from based off the conversation you have?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think we in marketing used to, really be held to this attribution. Where are the leads coming from? Which, of these platforms is moving the needle the most? But it can be really hard because someone could hear about you talking on a podcast and then they don't look anything up. And then later, the way the algorithms work, if they're talking about the podcast or they mention your name, all of a sudden your page could surface on Instagram. They didn't go searching for it, but your phone was listening to you. And now it's showing you Instagram or a Facebook ad. So the attribution can be really murky. I will say that LinkedIn is being used by more and more advisors. And because of this new world of AI search, LinkedIn is one of the highest referenced or cited pages when you go to ChatGPT or Claude, right? So Reddit, Wikipedia, YouTube, they're all up there, but LinkedIn is really up there. So AI tools see it as a verified third party. You get social proof because you have recommendations. So someone might say, leave me a recommendation saying, Samantha's a great speaker. You should book her for your event. It also has all of these posts. So it has content from me, but it's still a third party platform, right? It's not my own website. And AI tools care more about what other people say about you than what you say about yourself. So for all those reasons, I think now more than ever, LinkedIn is sort of rising to the top in the platforms people care about and want to learn more how to reference and utilize.
Really? So could you unpack that a little bit more so AI, based off what they're looking for, they're looking more for third-party resources, not necessarily just an advisor's website, but they're looking to hear what other people are saying in order to generate more traction?
So I actually built this AI AEO score tool, AEO standing for, we had SEO, right, which was search engine optimization. And AEO stands for answer engine optimization. So anytime you're going to ChatGPT, Claude, it's not giving you a list of websites anymore. It doesn't really matter if your site's first or 500th or 10th on the page. There's just 2 or 3 answers, and that's it. So it's answer engine optimization. You either are the answer or you're not. If I were to go and say, I am me and my husband own a business. We live in St. Louis, Missouri. We have about $500,000 saved, but our business is also worth X amount. And we're looking for a financial advisor to help us sell the business, then invest the profits, but make sure we take into account we don't want to pay too much taxes, but our kids are also getting ready to go to school. And, that's how people talk to AI. It's not just like, who's the best advisor near me?
Right.
They give AI all this context. So what does AI do? Whether, again, it's Perplexity, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, it's going to look to your website and all the websites of people in St. Louis of who specifically works with business owners, helping them with exit strategy, with tax guidance or tax, strategies. But then it's going to look at what have other people who've used these businesses said about working with them, because it doesn't just care what you say about yourself. It cares with what other real people who've used your business have to say about you. So that could look like LinkedIn recommendations, right? So that's why LinkedIn gets pulled in a lot. It could look like Google business reviews. There's more and more advisors. So only about 10% of advisors have any public reviews or testimonials. Yet AI, if you look at who they surface, when someone does say best advisor near me, or I'm looking for advisor to help with whatever, every single one of them has publicly displayed reviews. So right now, 10% of the advisors out there are getting all of the recommendations on AI. Because if you don't have social proof, you will not be recommended. So you could sit there all day long and say, I'm Jeremy. I work with tech employees in Silicon Valley of Microsoft, Amazon, and list all the companies and go into all these details. But if you don't have a single review from a third party saying, yeah, I worked with Jeremy and he was great, your chances of being recommended are very, very small. So it's actually why at FMG, we recently acquired Testimonial IQ, and now we have FMG testimonials, because we were looking at the place and we said, it doesn't matter how well we optimize these websites for content, for all these things. If someone doesn't have the ability to collect and display reviews and testimonials, they're dead in the water. So it's definitely the Wild West still in a lot of ways, right? Because a lot of firms have home office that are saying, no, you just still can't do it. But I think just the way social media used to not be allowed to be used by so many firms, it is just a matter of time before the adoption happens. because the SEC marketing rule did pave the way that it is allowed, but there are certain things you have to do to make sure you're compliant. But anyways, I took a really long time to answer your question. There's a lot of factors that go into it.
Well worth the time, because that's great. And is there a specific review that AI likes more, Google review, or is it just like certain ones that rank higher than others?
Yeah. Gemini, right, loves Google reviews. Other tools don't pay Google for their access to their data, so they like other platforms better. Your best bet is to generate reviews and testimonials, like collect that information from your clients and then ask them, can we then push it out and have it be posted on Google or Trustpilot or wherever else? So the best way to do it is for you to be in control and not just wait for, someone to go post something to Google. And that's, again, the big thing with the tool when we built it was, first, you want to ask for feedback, and you want to do it in a systematic way where an auditor can come and say, well, prove to me, Jeremy, that you asked every single client for a testimonial and not just the happy ones, right? So you have to have a way to do that, but you really don't want to collect them all, let's say in the first month, and then have them all go get pushed out to Google in month one, because AI also has something called a recency bias. So when they're looking at who to recommend, they want to see fresh reviews. So it actually behooves you to spread out the requests throughout the year so that you continually have more up-to-date reviews on whatever platform it is.
Did you realize if you're a financial advisor specializing in annuities or IUL, building your authority online is no longer optional? It's the difference between being overlooked or being chosen. That's why authority marketing strategist Mike Saunders, author of Authority Domination, created Advisor Authority AI. This custom AI tool, trained on his Amazon best-selling book, builds your personalized authority positioning blueprint in just 15 minutes, showing you how to dominate your niche and become the category of one. This isn't a tactic, it's a smarter way to grow. Get your blueprint today at www.authoritytrustgap.com. Also, learn more about the full done-for-you authority positioning package Mike provides for our advisors at www.authoritypositioningcoach.com/InsureMark. So it actually helps advisors. So reviews is one route. Engagement, does that help in the digital world for advisors, like actually getting digital engagement on their posts on LinkedIn or Instagram, or does that even matter?
Right now, it doesn't matter that your post had 50 comments versus none. AI is not looking for that, but what they are looking for, if other people were to repost your posts and say, I love following Jeremy because he always is teaching me about business succession planning and exit strategies, then AI will pick up on that, because again, it's basically a third party review or recommendation. But if you're on a podcast like we're on right now, when you tell me, okay, Samantha, the podcast is live, some people will be like, that's great. And they'll post about it on social media. That doesn't do much to help AI see me as an expert in all this. But if I say, Jeremy, can I take your YouTube, let's say we put this on YouTube, and I'm going to put it on my blog, and then I'm going to put a transcript of everything we talked about on there too. Now these AI tools will be able to scrape and crawl and read the transcript, read everything we talked about. But on your page, they also see that I was a guest and that your podcast is all about helping advisors grow. And so since I was a guest of your podcast, that gives me more credibility.
Got it.
So going on other people's podcasts is huge. Yes, it's great to have your own, but if you can be a guest on others, and then making sure you put the transcript for anything as a page on your website. So if you win an award, right, you win an Investopedia Top 100 Advisor Award, don't just put the logo, create like a press release, put it on your website, because then AI can crawl it and read it.
It's so true, though. That makes me laugh. Because it is true. Like I do see that on some websites where that's the only form of like recognition. It's that logo, and then they just don't even talk about it. So
exactly. I mean, and again, we're talking a lot about what the robots care about. You do need to remember that you are building now your websites and digital presence for two distinct audiences. So the robots who are going to crawl it and decide which humans to send. And then the human, once they get there, they need to have a good experience. So you don't just build it for the robot. Don't just create your LinkedIn content for the robot. You also want it to be a good experience for the human that's going to then convert, right? And it's interesting right now, what we're seeing is across the board, not just in financial services, but every industry on earth, a 33, like a third of all website traffic is down, just gone, because
Really?
people are not clicking over. But the traffic that is coming is converting at 4.4% higher. So you're getting less traffic overall, but the traffic that is coming is highly, highly valuable, and it's much more qualified. So in a way, again, there's pros and cons, but I think I'm bullish on it. I think it's a good thing. I'd rather design for the right people and really be able to see the right people are hitting my website than I had 100 hits from some random, I'm sure you've seen this. If you look at your Google Analytics, you could see you had 100 hits from India and 1,000 from South Korea, people you cannot serve. And they lasted 1 second. It's trash visitation. It doesn't matter.
Well, actually, to that point, so there's I quote this one a lot, and I don't know what it is. I know you've been to London, but I think they do work there. It's like SQ Magazine or something. So they do like all this social media of analytics, and in the last 10 years, so which it seems to hit home. It's basically human consumption and their time of actually being on websites and just their retention, not just retention, but how fast and quickly they are on to the next thing. It's just when it comes to certain like reels that they go to or things on social media, 10 years ago, the average across the board was like 12 seconds. And then someone's just like, okay, on to the next thing. It was like 12.5. But then here they did a study in 2025, and like that same group of 1,000 people, it's now down to like 8.25 seconds. So basically the content, what that's saying is that it's like the dopamine, you gotta have something that keeps them there. To your stat that you just referenced, they're not necessarily going to the website, they're going to the next thing, unless it really hits them to where they'll watch the whole video or they'll look at the post longer, and then they'll actually drive to go to the website itself. So,
and if you think about that, why would somebody keep watching? Because you've articulated a problem that they very specifically have, and a solution you have to that problem. So I always say to think of your marketing like a magnet. In order for a magnet to work, right? In order for one side to attract, what does the other side have to do? Repel, right? If it doesn't repel, the magnet is broken. So if you are not repelling anyone, if everyone comes to your site and thinks, oh, maybe they work with people like me, then they're gone. Because we need to know very quickly, this is content or this is someone that helps people just like me. And AI has made that more important than ever, right? It used to be you could kind of get away with not having a niche. Now I always say you want to be the most obvious answer to the question, whatever the person's typing in. So I am a, Amazon employee. I have RSUs. I live in Silicon Valley, and I'm looking for an advisor who understands me how to do X, Y, and Z. And if you don't have that on your website, you don't have social proof of people talking about that, you haven't been on a podcast, you haven't written some sort of guide or white paper explaining it, why would AI choose you? They won't. So you need to be more specific than ever, which I know is really scary for a lot of people. It doesn't mean that has to be your only audience, but let's say you have 5 distinct client types. You need to have 5 really well built out social presence, media mentions, website copy for each one of those.
Love that. And so if an advisor is actually looking to build their brand more online, so today, what would actually be what's the most efficient route for an advisor to build a brand online today? Is it distinction of like their point of view? Should they be more just volume of content that they're creating? Or is it like just more just being consistent? So they're just consistent message over and over, or is it just literally blasting out as much content as possible? What works the best today?
It's being as specific as possible. So if you have only 5 blog posts, 5 podcast appearances, and, some social media posts. And then your website is super specific that you help this particular audience, right? You help people in the New York metro area who want to move abroad to Europe, to Portugal, and they're looking for golden visas, and they also have assets back here, and you get super specific. Your ability to get found again through AI and grow is going to be faster. And it's not just AI, but think about like if somebody comes to you and they start talking to you and they're like, yeah, I really want to move to Portugal, want to do the golden visa. And immediately, an advisor who helps people like that, you're of course going to say, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. That's what they do. And AI is doing the same thing. The biggest thing though, is that from the consistency standpoint, remember I said AI has a recency bias. So there was a study done by Search Engine Land where they went and they just updated the dates of blogs. And they found all of a sudden they got a lift in how often they were being referenced by AI tools. So AI wants it to be the most up-to-date information. This is sort of a black hat strategy right now. I know that these tools will get smart and they'll realize people could just change the date. But right now it still does work. So, but that being said, basically the idea is you at least twice a month, you would want to add fresh content to your website. And at least once a week, I'd say 2 to 3 times a week, you want to be posting to the social media platforms that your audience is on, talking about super targeted topics that they're interested in.
That's interesting because you think so LinkedIn did something different earlier. I think it was this year, or maybe it was late last year. I post a lot on LinkedIn, but I'm not a huge fan. No, not LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn, but they recently changed the video aspect. So if you post a video, you can no longer read the verbiage. So or you can, but now it's almost like they're trying to become the social media app to compete against like a reel for Instagram or whatever. And you have to click on the video in order to see the verbiage that's actually written. So then it defeats the purpose of having captions because now you're having to read and listen. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I wish they didn't do that. But at the same time, so that makes, at least for somebody as an advisor, it almost makes them like, what's the point of posting and like putting verbiage and doing a short form content on LinkedIn specifically, unless they go with the landscape, I guess, of a video. So I'm just trying to think. So what would pull better? Is it having the verbiage written out about your video so the video doesn't really matter? Or is it?
No, I mean, again, you got to remember you have 2 audiences, right? So like what works for the humans is the vertical video. We like that. The stats show that we engage with it more. But yes, for AI, they will scrape the written part of it. The other thing though is a lot of people still access LinkedIn on a desktop from work. So
That's true.
In that regard, it is different than on your phone. And if you post, like a lot of times I work with advisors where they'll create content for a YouTube channel or it's a webinar and they'll post a snippet of it and it's a horizontal orientation. And then it doesn't come up the same way. So there's ways to go about it in the strategy, but I would not stop adding the text for sure because there's benefits to it in how the robots read the post.
We're already getting into that world, robots, people.
Exactly.
So today, if like an advisor that's listening, everybody's going to be at their own place when it comes to where their brand is online, maybe just starting to build more of a digital presence, like you said, which is great advice. Hopping on other people's podcasts is the best way to get your brand out there into those different circles. So what's the some advice from you to help an advisor just put themselves out there, but also gain trust to help speed up more so earning trust with prospects digitally that maybe they are used to in the real world, but they don't do necessarily in the digital world yet?
So I used to tell people all the time, take out a notepad and a pen. And when clients or prospects come in your office or call or email, make a list of the questions they ask write them down, the exact words and phrases they use. Don't parse it. Don't change it. Use their words. And that still holds true, but you can even use AI to help you now, right? You can go, and I would use multiple tools because they all have their own biases, but I'd go pull up Copilot, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, a couple different ones, ChatGPT, and say, I like explicitly lay out who your ideal client is. And you might do this more than once and say, why, you impersonate them, I should say. So you would say, I'm, in my 50s, my husband and I own a business. We live in St. Louis, Missouri. We're looking, whatever. You pretend to be them. And then you say, recommend a few financial advisors for us to connect with and vet. And they'll give you a list. And if you're not on there, the follow-up question should be, why did you recommend the ones you did? And you can really dig in there. If they say, well, they mentioned that they work with, well, where do they mention? Do they have Google reviews or is it on their website? And then finally you finish with, and why didn't you recommend Samantha Russell? And it will show you the gaps that you have, right? So it might say, I couldn't find this or this or this about you. So that will give you kind of a starting point. Then I would switch it and say, okay, this is my target audience. What kinds of questions are these people asking when they're searching or they're looking? What kinds of questions do they have? What do they need help with? And start getting that list. And then that is what your plan is. So let's say you get a list of 20 questions and you want them to be as super specific and not jargony as possible. Then that could be the next 20 social posts that you write. It could be the next, 20 blog posts that you write. It could be the next 20 videos that you create. And notice I'm saying it could be, because you don't need to do all the mediums for everything. It's much better to lean into one that you're good at or that you're focused on. But it's really hard to go get on someone's podcast if you have no content out there talking about what it is you're an expert about. So if you want to get other people to bring you on the podcast to talk about some sort of tax strategy or investment, vehicle, you need to be putting content out there yourself, educating on that. So you can, create videos talking about it. You could post about it on social media, whatever it is. The more you educate about that topic, the more you'll start to be seen as the expert for that, right? The reason I'm here talking with you today is because you've seen me post about these things on LinkedIn, host webinars about them, post videos talking about them, write content about it. And that all starts, it's what's so great. I love, you don't have to have a column in a big publication. You can post your expertise on LinkedIn every day. And when someone says, oh, you want to come on my podcast? You have any examples of your work? You could say, go check out my LinkedIn. Every other day, I post an educational tip about XYZ.
New product alert. Revel One Financial is continuing to rev it up. At Revel One Financial, their mission is to revolutionize how people feel, think, and experience retirement solutions. They are bringing unmatched agility, speed, and innovation to the fixed annuity industry. And now Revel One Financial just announced their latest product launch, introducing Accum Rev Fixed Index Annuity with a 10% 7-year guaranteed cap rate with the S&P 500 1-year point-to-point index interest rate on the 7-year product. Rate subject to change at any time, but you heard that right. 10% cap on the S&P 500 guaranteed for the 7-year contract. Accum Rev also has an index lock rider with 3 ways to lock in performance. Another launch, another leap forward. That's the Revel One Financial Cheetah Spirit, built for speed, designed to deliver. For those that listen at point, 1.6 or 2x, they definitely need to re-listen to that segment right there. Because that for sure, especially the recommendation thing that you just laid out, every advisor, if they're actually listening to this episode, they need to do that today. That is such good advice.
And I'm sorry, because I know I talk fast, but yes, go back and listen.
I'm saying the ones because I listen to stuff at 2x, so I'm sure others do too. That is really good. So, and it's very true. So, for people that, so going back into a little bit more of what you currently do, you help out, you get a lot of good information from advisors, you hear from the field, what they're doing, what's working. Looking ahead, let's say the next 2 years. So fast forward to like 2028. So where is this AI boat going? How are advisors marketing in the future? How can they get ahead of it? Can they get ahead of it? Like, what does that look like?
Such an interesting question. I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't. I mean, I think I was talking about AI disrupting the way clients find advisors 18 months ago, 24 months ago. And I would go to a room in a conference and say, how many of you have gotten a client from AI? Nobody. How many of you have gotten a lead? Maybe a smattering of hands. And every month I'd be asking that question and the hands kept going up and up. And even I sort of underestimated how fast people's, now if I ask in a room, how many of you have used an AI tool to search or create something today? Every single hand in the room almost is going up, 80%, because the experience is better. So what's funny though, is then if you ask financial advisors, well, do you think clients are finding you from AI? They're like, no, it's still word of mouth. Yet we're all using it to find the plumber, to find the restaurant, to build our itinerary in Italy this weekend. If an experience is inherently better, people will keep using it. And I think the issue will become, and what everybody's still trying to figure out is sort of how does the finding the advisor is one thing, but then how does the experience that the advisor gives change with AI? I think it will allow a lot of firms to serve the underserved who historically haven't had access to as much advice. And I also think that we will be able to have much more personalized, content and campaigns than we even have. We're building a lot of that right now in FMG to be able to nudge people to say, this person came in from this white paper you had about when's the best time to take Social Security. So you should create a 5-part drip sequence. Here's all the content we already have for it. Now just talking to them about Social Security, this one person. So it doesn't have to be, it can be a whole email campaign for one person, right? And I think we will see more and more and more of that. But I also think, I don't know if you've been paying attention to like Ticketmaster sales. They are selling more tickets to concerts than ever before, selling out in 2 seconds. People are going to meet up together to watch a Netflix show, or like Netflix launched in Philadelphia and New York, these immersive places where you could go with friends and feel like you're in Stranger Things, like it's an immersive 3D thing. So the more that we have digital AI, the more we're craving human connection, right? My kids got these landline phones for Christmas so that they could call their friends. It's like going back to my childhood. So I think that there'll be a lot more that advisors can do because they'll have more time and be more efficient, that people will crave that human experience. The same way we all thought travel agents were going to be dead, and now people will pay tens of thousands of dollars for really curated travel experiences. I think we will see the same.
People don't like to think. They just want it done.
Right.
That's an interesting perspective. I am not, I guess, keeping up with Ticketmaster as much. I do know the bots and whatever. It's outrageous when tickets go for sale and they're like, you're limited of where you can buy. But you're saying people are getting together, like they're actually going somewhere for like a watch party, or what did you say there?
Well, if you look at the trend of what kinds of experiences people have, I think the pendulum swung so far to the right with social media and the evolution of it, of us feeling disjointed. We don't have community. We keep up with people because we see what they posted on Instagram. So we feel like we know what's going on in their lives. We didn't actually talk to them. That now it's going the opposite way. There's high schools where students are signing pledges to not bring phones to school or have social media, and college parties. I live in a college town in State College, Pennsylvania. There's college parties where at fraternities and sororities, they will say no one's allowed to have their phone because they don't want everybody having their head in their phone. They want to interact with each other. So I think we're going to see just a big pendulum swing in the opposite direction.
Big news from Ibexus. California is officially live. The Ibexus fixed index annuities, the FIA Plus, Wealth Defender, and Wealth Defender Bonus are now approved and available in California, opening the door to one of the largest retirement markets in our country. Advisors can now bring Ibexus solutions to California clients in competitive strategies designed to help win new business. And as an added benefit, Ibexus now supports both full and partial Roth IRA conversions, giving you additional tax planning flexibility for your clients. clients. To learn more, visit ibexus.com, no login required, or contact the Ibexus sales desk at 888-717-1003. Contact them today. I come from the year whenever I graduated high school, Facebook back then, which is now Meta or whatever, it just got onto the market. And so I'm coming up on my 20-year anniversary, and it's like pulling teeth. There's no way. Nobody's going to that thing. And I came from a big school. So, but you can't get enough buy-in because everybody sees what everybody's doing online already. So like you said, at least for the 20-year, the 10-year, no chance. 20-year, the interest is coming back a little bit. But you might be right as it progresses 5 years, 10 years.
And I do think people, there's this a different can of worms, but I'm sure you've seen, right? Like I am all over. I have lots of long form content of my face from video and my voice. Any company could clone that and make an AI avatar of me and use it to sell things there's all these lawsuits out there right now. There was a Instagram creator who had that happen to her. So if that's the case, people then might want to post less in some instances, which might then make it so that they do need to meet up in person because they're more scared of their digital identity being hijacked. So again, I think we're just at the cusp, and kind of the same way if you would have asked people in 2019, what do you think is going to be the defining thing in 2020? Like on no bingo card would be a global pandemic. It's really hard to 100% predict what is going to happen.
I agree with that. And I think I even said this a couple months back, but I mean, you got to become I'm terrible at this, but just got to become a better writer. Cause I mean, that's what people want. I mean, they can see through AI writing. You can see the longer hashtags. You can see how things are positioned. So you just got to become.
It's not this, it's this.
Yeah, exactly. Big statement at the beginning. Let me lay out for you.
And honestly, that's another one I love. And honestly,
who are some good people for advisors who does Samantha follow? Like that gets pretty good traction of like, you know what, that person's doing it right on Instagram. That person's doing it right on YouTube, LinkedIn. Who would be like a good person?
Right now, if you want to learn just about AI and how to better use it and the cusp and stay up to date, I love Ruben Hassad. I don't know if you know who that is. On LinkedIn, every day he posts something different. And, the pendulum again keeps swinging, right? So like we were all sort of Chat GPT obsessed, and then Claude became so powerful, and like he in real time was just like, yep, I switched to Claude and here's all the best ways to use it. I've learned a lot from following him, and I really love his stuff. I tend to get a lot of inspiration outside of our industry actually, and look at what are people doing? What stories are they telling? How are they putting it together? How are they tapping into trends and things of the moment in other spaces? So I, for instance, had never grown an Instagram for any other purpose. Like I had my own private one that, just pictures of my kids. But I wanted to see, because I'm seeing more and more advisors using it for business purposes. I was like, I want to see what it takes to grow an Instagram as fast as possible. So last year I started this Jolly Good Travel Instagram, and I've in a little over 100 posts in a year, I grew it to 128,000, I think it is, followers.
Jeez. Okay.
And I've learned so much on that platform about what works. And I've also seen that growth can be really quick on other platforms when you have short form video. I mean, yes, I do short form video on LinkedIn too, but so it's just interesting. I just really like to experiment, to try new things, get my hands a little dirty and test things out. And then again, bring that back. So now at FMG, when we're building things, we are so hyper focused on that first line of the hook, because we know what a difference it makes in whether your content continues to get shown or not. So if you're listening to this and you're spending a lot of time maybe writing a blog or creating a social post, and you should be spending 80% of your time thinking of what is that first line or that first visual or that image going to be, more than any other part of the content.
Incredible. We're going to go back to that real quick though. So, what was your biggest lesson learned in a year? What do you think helped drive that traffic on Instagram? Is it the quality of the video, like the colors? Is it
No. The quality is terrible. It's all just like my old iPhone. And it was like mostly repurposed content. So I travel with my kids all the time. So I just was like, I didn't want to just do talking head videos of me talking about marketing. I want to do something completely different. So just videos of me and my kids. And what I found was that if I did something like 5 things you should know before visiting Rome with kids,
wow,
doesn't matter. That's dead in the water. Nobody cares. But if you're like, I took my kids out for pizza for Rome and was shocked when this happened. And then you tell a story and then you're like, if you want all my best tips for visiting Rome with kids, comment guide and I'll send it to you. That works, right? So people want good information, but they are captivated and hooked in by the story. And if, you could say before taking your kids to Rome, make sure you do this, that doesn't work as well either. We want to know what shouldn't we do? What's the mistake? But also we want to hear the point of view of another person. So like mom to mom, this is what happened to me. Being relatable is so important. So like when someone hires a financial advisor, they are hiring you. Why? There's a million people out there that could invest their money and they could put it in a Vanguard fund, right? There's a lot of ways they could go about it, but they're hiring you because they want somebody that they feel like they can trust, that gets them, that will be there when they feel like they have problems and that they can use as a sounding board for guidance. So this Instagram, travel channel is the same thing. People message me all the time. Hey, I'm going to Switzerland. I want to bring a stroller, but I'm unsure if I should. They could just ask ChatGPT, should I bring a stroller? But they want to hear from another mom who's been there. Somebody hiring you wants to hear, what have your other clients who've gone through this process experience? What were their pitfalls? It's just that human element that you can't replace. So the more you can tap into that, create content about, we've been advising clients for 20 years. This is the number one thing everyone says in the first year after they retire. Anyone getting ready to retire will want to hear that, even if it has nothing to do with finances. And it's like, I wish I would have planned more for how I was going to spend my free time. I don't know if you know Streamline Financial. They have a fantastic YouTube channel. Dave heads it up. He has mastered this. And they have built such a great campaign funnel where they are turning clients away because he posts all these videos on things that are on the periphery of financial advice. So like mistakes people make, things people feel stressed about, what they wish they would have known before a lot of it is not even financial related, but he's tapped into the art of focusing on what people are worried about, thinking about, questioning in that phase of life. So that was a really long-winded way of answering your question. I'm sorry. But I get amped up on these things.
Relatable. That is definitely the theme. The more relatable you are, you can attract who you can serve.
Yeah.
And also, very wise. I just jumped on Instagram, I think a year or 2 years ago now. Had no interest in doing it, but especially for advisors, because of the amount of wealth that's being transferred here, that's where Gen X millennials, they're on Instagram. So
yeah. And we talk about AI search. You can search in Instagram, you could search in Facebook, and they have their own AI powered. So let's say you're in your 40s and your dad dies, and your mom is like never worked with an advisor. Now she all of a sudden has this money in motion, and she's asking you, Sam, help me. I at 40 might go to Instagram to look for the advisor. That might be where I search, So yeah, it's definitely changing really quickly.
No, that is 80% of where they will go.
Yeah.
That's literally what the data shows is they want like 74% will go, millennials especially, they'll go to social media for financial advice.
They want to see it on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that line of like celebrity advisor or like best advisor, but you gotta You got to toe the line of who you are to get their attention, at least to, actually be relatable, like you said. So this is great. As we're wrapping up, a lot of good information, man. Very good. Is there anything we missed or final thoughts as we come to a close?
I would say, I think people could listen to this maybe and feel a little overwhelmed, to your point, like, where do I even start? The more you can be focused on one thing at a time, the higher your rate of success will be. So if you're really good at writing, write long form blog posts that AI cannot replicate using your voice. And then, then think about, once you've got a repertoire going, of sharing them on social media. If you're really good at video, then go all in on video. But like, I would choose one thing and get hyper focused on that. And just always envision that one person you're speaking to. The more you water down your message and talk to lots of different people, the less successful that message will be. And in our global world, if there's only 5,000 possible people you can serve in the US, that's still a really big target market, because anybody in the US can find you now. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Do you think a financial advisor 5-10 years from now that does not have a digital presence, will they be around?
Oh gosh, who knows? Maybe it'll become like the thing, like, oh, I'm not online, so you can only find me. Like, what about, who knows? Probably not. If I was a betting woman, I'd say no. But, Jeremy, I really believe that anything could happen. So I try not to speak in absolutes.
Yes. No, I agree. Because this will be years and years as it just remains out there in the ecosystem of AI. So I get it. So good stuff. No, I appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this, especially at the hour that you're at over there.
No worries. It was so fun. You have great questions.
Well, no, thank you. And thank you also to the listener for tuning into this week's episode. Feel free to subscribe to the Advisor Mentorship Podcast on your favorite listening device and connect with us. Subscribe to YouTube, Jeremy Hauser AMP. And remember, as you share this episode with a friend or a colleague in a world full of betas, be an alpha.